Welcome back to Swordbox. Let's check out our verse. Today's verse comes from Psalm 68:6, and it says, God sets the solitary in families. And today I want to talk for a few minutes about loneliness. I'm glad you tuned in with us today. I hope you take the time to read the entire chapters of these verses we give to you each day, especially the one for today, because that was just a little part of it, but that's the part I want to focus on today. I don't know anybody that at some point in their life does not deal with loneliness. And unfortunately, loneliness can lead us to a lot of different things that are very negative. It could lead us to drugs. It could lead us to overworking just to stay busy. It could lead us to bad relationships. And I wonder how many young people settle for a relationship that they know is wrong simply because they don't want to be alone. The Bible is full of examples of Christians who dealt with loneliness, as well as the Psalms that give us a lot of prayers from King David that he prayed to God. Let me just read a few of those to you real quickly. Psalm 102:7 says, I lie awake and I am like a sparrow alone on the housetop. So David obviously knew some pretty deep loneliness there. Psalm 142 verse 4, look on my right hand and see, for there is no one who acknowledges me. Refuge has failed me, and no one cares for my soul. Now that's a young man who is in deep despair, who feels like there's no one around that even cares. So obviously God understands what you're going through. I don't care how lonely you are. And what about the example of Jesus on the cross? When Jesus was on the cross, all of his disciples had forsaken him. No one was standing up for him or even acknowledging that they knew him at this point. And he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? God forsook his own son on the cross. And over in the scripture, we're told that God will never leave us and never forsake us. That's because Jesus already took that for us. He already took God forsaking him. God could not look on Jesus because he was covered in our sin. And now he can look at us if we are covered in his righteousness, as if we're born again. And I want to remind you the other thing about God setting the solitary in families. Like we were talking about earlier, how people will run out and get relationships they shouldn't be in. Just remember that the Bible also warns us that unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. So make sure the person you're dating is someone God would want you dating. Make sure the person you're with, the friends you're hanging around with, are people that build you up and not tear you down. Let me give you a few examples real quickly, and then we'll close. The Apostle Paul certainly felt loneliness in prison. And let me tell you his response. The same thing he tells us to do was rejoice always. Paul sang to the Lord. He was praising God in the midst of probably some of the loneliest times of his life. Jesus, of course, we talked about the loneliness at the cross. And what did he do? He looked down on the soldiers that had crucified him and said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jonah, when he's in the whale, he cried out, when my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer went up to you. John, when he was imprisoned on the island, yet God used him to write Revelations. Job, of course, we know the sufferings he went through. In the midst of all of his suffering, when his friends were no help to him whatsoever, he lost his family, lost his wealth, he cried out and said, for I know my Redeemer lives. And the thing I want you to get from this is, if you're feeling lonely today, you need to do what the people in the Bible did. You need to do what Jesus did. You need to start speaking words of faith in God. You need to start trusting in what his word says about your circumstances and what his word says about your future, instead of sitting and getting pulled down into a depression, into something that's going to take a lot of time to get out of when you begin to get lonely. Just like I tell you with every problem you have, the first thing you need to do is get on your knees. You need to cry out to Jesus. Man, I love you. I hope you'll keep coming back. I'll try to keep these videos somewhat short so that you can just catch a quick word and go. I know that's kind of the society we live in today, but I just want you to know that I'm here for you every day, 365 days a year. I'm not taking a day off. We're going to bring you a new word every day, and we're going to talk a little bit, and hopefully at some point these videos will get a little more interesting for you. God bless you. Thanks for coming. I'm praying for you. We'll see you next time.